Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast, and as you can see we're back in the studio and we're back in a new shiny studio, as always provided by the Pod Cafe. So you'll see over the next few weeks some further developments, maybe a slightly different setting in the way that we set things up, but again, so happy to be back here, and again, massive thanks to the Pod Cafe. Please give them a following on Instagram or on your socials if you're looking to maybe do something of this nature, or if you're looking to set up an event. These are your guys to call upon. While we're on that note, massive thank you to Globe Heating and Gas, our long-term sponsors, and a big welcome to our new sponsors, Tick Property Group. Listen, we know so many people, and I've been in there so often when I'm trying to move house, trying to look for the best deal. There's so many estate agents out there. At Across the Park podcast, we have got your back. So we've now officially got a partnership with the cheapest and best property group who can get your property on the market. So a special offer again for everyone out there is that $495 including VAT is all it will cost you to get your house on the market. It's the best deal currently across the UK. It includes photos, floor plan, virtual viewing, etc. All the stuff on Rightmove and Zoopla. So if you or anyone you know is looking to sell your house in the next few months, or you're considering it, please get on Tick Property Group. So you'll see the link in the description for this podcast, as well as in our socials. So big welcome to the Tick Property Group. Millsy, while we're on, I guess, perks for us and the podcast, we've got a little perk for our listeners and viewers, haven't we? So you want to tell us about the free tickets that we're going to be offering? Yeah,
we have. So we tend to get things and we like to give them away. So we like to give them to our listeners and followers. So we will have a couple of tickets to give away to an Everton Legends night, which is going to be in the Pyramids and Par Hall in Warrington. If you go over to Across the Park PC on Twitter, the only way you can get these is on the Twitter or the X or the Z or the Y, whatever they're calling it. It's Twitter to me. There's going to be a video on there. Everton Legends night with Dave Watson, and Psychopath Vanden Howe. That's going to be a good night. That's Thursday, 22nd of February. Get the babysitter, book the morning off the next morning. But we're giving 2 tickets away over on Across the Park PC on Twitter. Fantastic.
Cheers for that, Millsy. Okay, so now we've got all of the admin and messages out the way. Going to go through the news, or the latest news, if you like. So we will be covering the game at some point. Obviously, that happens over the weekend, the 2-2 draw with Tottenham. We'll be looking ahead to the Man City game as well. We've got a ton of social media, some really interesting and funny questions actually this week. Before we crack on with footy matters then, huge, the biggest item on the agenda, obviously for the football club until we move past that at some point, is the ongoing fight against the
corruption, I'll say it.
Yeah, okay.
Corruption.
The ongoing corruption from the Premier League. Again, we'll talk about the fans' contribution to getting that message across over the weekend. But there has been some rumours, I'll call it. It's been doing the rounds on WhatsApp, a few bits on Twitter or X, about a positive feeling, or that the QC or the Everton team have got from the hearings. Again, it's a rumour. It does seem to be quite detailed for a rumour, so it must have come from somewhere. But I think the main thing that is interesting, I'll allow you to take us through this, is that it kind of details what our main arguments, it seems, has been.
Well, we know the appeal process is now over. We know Friday concluded. We've been told that mid-February, which is interesting because the following game after mid-February is Monday night on Sky Sports at Goodison Park. So the reaction of the crowd that night is going to be interesting. But I think what you're trying to get at is someone on Twitter or X came out and said that they've got a good source, and this person is historically quite a good tweeter. And he said that, in short, that the Everton board are quite buoyed by the hearing. They think it went well. They think that the mitigation arguments, which is something me and you have banged on about, like the mitigation in not being able to play a player or sell a player, having a suspended sponsor that you can't replace, them alone is just ridiculous. Never mind the fact it's a sporting sanction for a non-sporting. Going to get wound up if I carry on. He said that was, he thinks that the board think that was heard well. The commission didn't allow the club to use reasonable mitigation as a defence, but they have allowed others in the past to use it, i.e. West Ham. They had big mitigation. And if you recall, when West Ham got their punishments, this is not this guy who's done this, it's someone else put the hearing notes up, and the Premier League came out and said that to relegate West Ham, or to put them in a position where they were relegated, would punish fans and players who didn't deserve it. They're doing that now to us.
He was suspended in the end as well, wasn't it?
Exactly. I think Sheffield United got weighed in.
If you do it again.
Sheffield United went down in that scenario in 2007, got weighed in by West Ham. So maybe we're going to a direction where our Burnley or our Leeds can bring a financial lawsuit against us, or I don't know, but maybe we're leading towards that.
Or maybe the Premier League take that out of their hands and go, well, no, we're gonna force you to pay the penalty that we believe is fair to those teams and take the points off the table, which...
And you prefer that?
7-7 to step up again.
No, the loan. And he goes on to say, the commission didn't allow Everton to use justification of stadium overrun costs. They think that, rules were changed in the middle. The Richarlison, Gordon and Iwobi sales were all forced on us, almost by the Premier League. Is that not punishment enough, where you have to sell your best players? Gordon, Iwobi and Richarlison, like, you're not probably fall into that category. But in short, there's been some sort of, someone's put their neck on the line on Twitter and said that the Everton board or the interim board or the QC or the KC, as you can call them, are quite buoyed by what happens at the appeal.
Brilliant. So again, we will watch this space, as you say. And
watch us get 12 points now after all.
No, exactly. Yeah, being the club that we are and what we've already been put through, I'm not holding my breath. And as I urge all fans to keep banging the drum as we have been. And on that note, sorry about that, I've got my laptop in front of me today to make sure I get
looking really cool today. That's a nice hoodie you've got on there as well.
Yeah, good shout. And again, getting back to it, but Arctic Peak supplied this to us, our friends at Arctic Peak. So if you want one of these hoodies, whether it's for your work, your football teams, etc., you need to give them a follow on Instagram and drop them an inbox. You can get 10% off if you quote Across the Park podcast.
How am I so skint with all these sponsors, by the way? How am I so skint when we're sponsored up to the max?
To be fair, we're not getting sponsored by these. These just offered to send us one. So I guess they have, because they put some clothing on my back. So appreciate it. But again, I've tagged Arctic. I will tag Arctic Peak in the description. But thanks for that, Millsy. So look on to the matters on the pitch, but we will refer again to the role of the crowd at the weekend. We said in the instant match reaction, huge point, which I still believe it is. Obviously, we weren't to know that Luton were going to somehow pull that out the bag, but it could have been worse. Any other thoughts beyond the instant match reaction that you've had since, in terms of the game itself? I'd
probably like to double down on my initial thoughts, and this is not pandering to the crowd here. Quite literally, I thought the Everton fans were magnificent on Saturday. I thought both goals came at times where, forget the players for a moment, both goals came at times at a very early point in the game, and then right before half time it can kill a crowd. The crowd stayed with it. It felt different. I got there quite early on Saturday. Got in the ground about 11:30. It felt like there was a little bit of a buzz. I don't know whether that's because it was a Saturday game, the first Saturday game for a long time, whether it's because people just been paid. I don't know what it was, but it felt like, it felt like the crowd were back on Saturday. So I want to double down on that. The crowd were fantastic. The 1878s and the men and women who help them distribute the cards and to give the free time. And look, people take children, people take parents, people want to go for a pint. They're giving that up to go and help. I thought Goodison looked good in yellow. I prefer the yellow to the pink.
Oh, I do. And I like the fact that it's like a yellow card, isn't it? It's almost saying, like, this is our warning. So,
and that yellow
stuck out a bit more.
Yellow is like a version of yellow is quite synonymous with us. The Alan Ball famous shirt and some of the Rapid Vienna banner behind
some of these programmes you can see here on the table. Obviously, yellow flashed all over.
I thought Goodison looked and sounded good. And for me, I'm not Michael Oliver, but I thought he got quite intimidated by it. He looked a little bit like, with no songs.
My son was intimidated by it.
Because his name's Oliver.
He was getting that much abuse that my son thought he was. No one liked him in the match.
I think, look, he had a bad performance, Oliver, but I just think that those moments in the game where he just looked a little bit intimidated by the crowd.
I thought that free kick at the end was one of them. Obviously, it followed on from where we thought we had a penalty. Obviously, the boos rang out, the corruption, the chance and everything. And literally gave a free kick straight after. If it was a little bit more soft, I thought, the free kick that we got, than the one that could or should have been given just before that.
Have you noticed, I looked at Oliver, because when the VAR check on the Branthwaite goal was happening, And look, I'm going against the grain here, but it looked to me like he's thinking, I don't want to disallow this.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Don't put me in a situation.
Yeah.
Look, he got booed off. The crowd let the officials know that their performance on Saturday wasn't good. But I just think we had an impact on it. And that's what a home crowd should do. A home crowd should be able to impact it.
Well, it's definitely getting through. I mean, there's another rumour doing the rounds that I think you posted on one of our WhatsApp groups this morning, suggesting that the next meeting that was set to take place, the Premier League, we're going to have with Liverpool.
He wanted to do it in Liverpool.
He wants to do it in Liverpool, and apparently now they've been completely put off that.
All the venues have said no.
Because nobody wants to house them, and I think they're just as intimidated about making a trip up to Liverpool at this moment.
Did you see the picture in John Lennon Airport of the security? And then you don't know what you do in Premier League and it's security. Look, it's loud, isn't it? The message is loud. We've got a question on socials, and I know we'll come to that, about the coverage of this protest.
Yeah.
Everton fans are doing absolutely everything that we can. The video of Peter Crouch in the fan zone with the Premier League logos behind him, you don't know what you're doing. It's brilliant. But look, away from the crowds.
Sorry, let's just bring that in. Before we move on, I might as well. I said I would try and thread the socials into it. So it's from Chloe on X or Twitter. The media coverage of EFC points deduction is a shambles. The biggest points deduction in the history of top flight football, and the media don't cover it. Do you think there's an agenda, or the media are conflicted?
I think what I would say is TNT Sports on Saturday, they give it coverage. They had someone from the View from the Bullens podcast pre-game on there. They had the logos that were visible behind Crouch and Joe Cole. They didn't move Crouch and Joe Cole. They kept them there for that. We go the game.
You're in the fan zone as well.
Exactly. We don't watch the game, we go the game. But from what I hear, when the 10th minute, they showed it. TNT Sports showed the crowd the 10th minute. But that is the exception to the rule. The coverage of this has not been... Sky Sports, look, you spoke to Andy Burnham, and Andy Burnham more or less said, I spoke to Sky Sports about this and they pulled the interview because how passionate it was.
That's never happened. Never happened.
You're not meant to be biased. I think Sky Sports have shown a bias. I think the media is littered for whatever reason with Reds. You see it all the time. Look, Sky Sports News will be in mourning today because Liverpool got beat yesterday. The media today will be having, white shirts, black ties on. It's always been like that, and Everton have always been a little bit like the red-headed stepchild. Like, when we can kick them, we'll kick them, but when they do well, we're not going to go near it. If there's an injustice, we're not going to highlight it. I think Chloe's right. I think the media coverage has been for what she said there, which she said the biggest punishment in top flight history. Where's the coverage of that? If we didn't support Everton, how many times do we do opposition podcasts and we ask them for their opinion? They go, we don't hear about it, we don't know. You tell us.
No, yeah.
Sky Sports, BBC, they don't show it. Simon Jordan sometimes talks about it on TalkSport. The one 24-hour news channel on sports doesn't touch it. Sky Sports News don't touch us. I think she's right.
No, spot on. And I thought that was particularly striking, to be fair, that TNT almost wanted to be in the middle of thick of the action, didn't he? Yeah. He wanted to give it a real authentic feel, and he definitely got that.
Well, look at the Newcastle game. Remember the Sky Sports journal before the Newcastle game on a Thursday night? The Sky Sports journal went to the Wirral and said, we can't go to Goodison because there's protests. Yeah. And that wasn't true. But they're just showing a side of the agenda where it's a little bit like, oh, Goodison's a bad place. The minute TNT said, no, we're putting our guest in the fan zone and we're acknowledging there's a protest today, we're talking about it. Yeah.
No, it's definitely just an extra point. There was a few fans that I knew that were in the fan zone before that and were obviously standing behind. They were apparently told by a few runners, no, you need to put them away. As in those cards, and they were just like, no, and they were like, okay. It's almost like they've been told, look, do your best to kind of not feature.
We can tick a box here, we can tell the Premier to the head.
Yeah, that's it. So maybe that was the case. So moving on to on the field, on the field matters. A few questions I've got for you in relation to the game itself. Interesting that Ben Godfrey got a start at the weekend. I thought he deserved it. I think he's shown a lot of steel, and again he was almost recognisable that Dyche kept him out of the squad and out of the team for quite some periods. He admittedly almost been forced into playing him, but he earned that start at the weekend, and I thought, with the exception of some questionable positioning on that side where Werner's kind of got in, I thought he played well. And I thought he, again, as you'd always get from Ben Godfrey, wore his heart on his sleeve and kind of, you know, covered every blade of grass down that side of the pitch.
No, he did, and to play right back, he sort of played right centre half against Fulham, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then on the naked eye, the team looked the same, but the manager maybe changed it because it was a home game, and he wanted to maybe take the game too. Tottenham put Ashley Young more in front, like a 4-4-2. I think Godfrey's done really, really well. He looked to me a little bit like the Godfrey that we've seen a few years back, where he wouldn't shake a challenge. Like, this is very unfair on Ben Godfrey, but my first image of him now is that Isaac walking past him for Newcastle, and that remember the 4-1 game.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was the furthest thing from the player we signed. The player we signed who'd go in for the challenge and run like a steam train.
Yeah, he was.
Back to that on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought so.
It was weird for me, in a way, that he was kept in at right back, because there's 3 right backs ahead of him who were all available.
Well, I'm going to ask you that question in a moment, so I might as well do it now. Nathan Patterson has obviously had a decent run in the team up until a few weeks ago. You know, Ashley Young's now come back, Seamus Coleman's now come back. What do you think the pecking order is now for Sean Dyche? Is he now at the back of the queue, Patterson? Didn't get any minutes?
Without being too, like, I don't want to be harsh, and I don't want to say things that aren't true. So this is my opinion, not judges, or I just don't think the manager fancies Patterson, to be honest. I don't think he's in a queue. I think he's used as and when. Okay. I think if the manager has to use Nathan Patterson, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, the manager's got the prerogative and the right to have that opinion. He sees them Monday to Friday, he sets them up in different shapes, and it might be that he tries Patterson and it doesn't work in training, and he goes, I'm not going to risk it on Saturday, and that's 100% the right call, if that's right. For whatever reason, Patterson only plays when he has to. So yeah, that's I think he's probably fallen to his right back now. Yeah,
that's my feeling. I want to run that by you. I think for me, out of all of them, I still think he's the one who, obviously because of his age, has got the most potential. I just don't want it to be the case that he doesn't play, or he plays so sparingly. I think that'd be a shame, and I think it'd be a waste of an asset potentially when you've got, you know, Ashley Young certainly, Coleman certainly, who probably only got about 12 months at the most, 24 months on the clock. You know, Ben Godfrey isn't a natural right back, so I think it would be a little bit short-sighted to just completely bomb him now. But I do get, and I agree that the manager certainly seems to trust the other players a lot more.
It's very likely, I think, that you lose Coleman and Young in the summer.
Exactly.
So Patterson has to eventually step up. But Ben Godfrey's now shows. I know Ben Godfrey's only got a year left, and he was rumoured to be, you know, late interest from AC Milan last week, and we turned that down because we want him there. He's a flexible person to have in the squad, but yeah, I don't think Patterson's time comes this season now unless it has to.
Fair enough. A player who we both mentioned, or you did first and foremost in the instant match reaction, is Ghana Guy. He's a player I've always loved because I think quite close to my heart, the type of player that I was.
Senegalese international, yeah.
Yeah, looks exactly like me. No, just certainly limited from a technical standpoint at times and gets exposed technically, but when he's on the pitch, you can never question his work ethic, and I think when he's got the timing right, I don't know what it is. Some games he just times everything perfectly. He's there on the dot in terms of his interceptions, and he passes at the right time. He had one of those games on Saturday where everything come together, and it couldn't have been in a better time, could it, given the absences we had?
We absolutely needed him. We said, didn't we, last Tuesday, Senegal went out on penalties, and we straight away said, the Tuesday morning, late Monday night, early Tuesday morning, we all said, get him in for Saturday, get him on that flight home, get him in for Saturday because we need him. And yet, look, the Ghana Guy from 2016 to 2019 was just a phenomenal player for Everton. And again, without being disrespectful, that player doesn't really exist now more, and that's a natural, you know. He's going to, as he gets older, not be the player that he was. And unfortunately, we have seen that. But Saturday, it was like watching the Ghana Guy that Ronald Koeman brought to the club in like 2016. Because even when Tottenham broke, his recovery in helping the defence and stuff, it helped to have Ben Godfrey in there because there's pace at the back, but Ghana Guy was just as important. There was lots of times in the second half Tottenham broke and Ghana Guy was the one to go and fight and win it back. And his distribution, I thought, was good as well. He was keeping it simple. He wasn't looking for balls that were dangerous or going to put Everton into trouble, but he was the man who said, well, let's keep the ball for a little bit, you know, do a 1-2 with me and let's stop them in the tracks, let them get back into shape. And without going too much into the detail, I just think he was man of the match on Saturday.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think he has a really positive impact on the players behind him, alongside him. As you say, giving them peace of mind, he could go forwards and attack. But also, I think I thought the first 10 minutes, obviously the goal didn't help and it kind of flattened it slightly, but I thought the first 10 minutes we didn't get going at all. But remember that first challenge was him and everyone else thought, okay, that's what we need to do. And you get that reaction from the crowds and it kind of rolled on from there. I thought he started it all. So.
Did you see the Seamus Coleman video when we equalised?
Yeah.
Romero.
Yeah, he was like in his face, wasn't he?
That's Everton, that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's every at the street end.
It is, yeah.
And then he came to the park end after the VAR check and he got the fists out. I love that. For anyone who's not seen it, Romero seemingly says something to Coleman in the build-up as the free kick's walking in. And you see Coleman going like, what the fuck are you talking to? And then when we score, he's just in Romero's face giving it brilliant.
Definitely. And he's horrible, Romero, isn't he? So I can imagine if you know, certainly you're a Tottenham fan, you're loving that, aren't you? But it's horrible when it comes back in your face.
Oh, yeah.
Another player I'm going to ask you about, and a player that we, again, mentioned in the instant match reaction, but a player that, you know, is it's probably fair to say he's divided his opinion. Lewis Dobbin, obviously there's nothing better, and let me repeat, when I say divided opinion, I don't mean the fact that people don't want him around. Nothing better than seeing a young player cross those white lines, you know, the player that we brought through the academy. But there's question marks about his ability at this level. Obviously the stats tell you that as well. He's got the goal against Chelsea, but aside from that, it's fair to say he struggled from a statistical point of view. Come on, and he was a breath of fresh air, I thought. I'm going to ask you about the time and that substitution in a moment, but came on and it was just raw, get the ball, run at them. He scared the life out of Tottenham, I thought. I thought they didn't know what to do, didn't know how to defend against him. On the basis of that alone, does he need more minutes?
I think he's proved to a lot of supporters and maybe even proved to his teammates and manager that he can be brought on earlier in the game now, at least. Yeah. I think we brought him on a half-time against Burnley away and he wasn't very good. And that may have had an impact on how little we've seen of him. But young kids should be brought on in situations like Saturday. How many times did James Vaughan, did Victor Anichebe, did Michael Branch, did Danny Cadamarteri, did Anthony Gordon get thrown in whenever it needed something different for the last 10 minutes where don't worry about what I put on the tactics board there. You're not picking no one up on the corner now. You're just playing your game. And he came on. The first thing he done was run at someone. Run at someone. And the right back, I forget his name, Pedro Ponce, whatever it is.
Paro.
Yeah.
Paro.
With McNeil, he has a very different game. With McNeil, like I said on Saturday, McNeil will stand on the ball and he'll look to be clever. He'll look, can I give it to someone and run? And then Dobb will just give him something different. I'm looking to white your eyes and run at you. If you tackle me, I'll see it again in 5 minutes. Yeah. And that give them something different to think about. And I think the crowd, we got the free kick from Dobbin and James Garner on the left-hand side. And what we've got with Lewis Dobbin is what we should have, which is young kids who can come on and impact the game. I'm not going to campaign for him to start and say, you know, he's better than Danjuma or he's better than Harrison. I'm not here for that. But I'm here to say, like, we've now got someone who I'd like to throw on more.
The only thing that sticks out for me, and I think you're spot on, by the way, and we'll come on to the timing of some of Dyche's substitutions in a moment. The only thing that sticks out to me, we've been searching for someone to play that role off the striker. I'm not necessarily advocating it from the start, but you know, off Calvert-Lewin. Let's just talk about Calvert-Lewin, because like it or not, and I say like it or not, because his goals return's not been good enough, and people are calling for Beto to start games. Like it or not, he's the better number 9 all round. You know, he links up better, his movement's better, he's generally better in the air, he's more consistent. He is the better number 9 out of the two at the moment. There's no doubt about that in my mind, and I'll argue with anyone about that. We've been searching for someone to deputise for Doucouré when he's not in there. What Doucouré obviously gives you bags of energy, he's a constant threat, he'll get close to Calvert-Lewin, he can get behind Calvert-Lewin, he's got a bit more pace than maybe the other players that play, i.e. your Jack Harrisons and your McNeils again. Yeah. For me, if you think about that whole, not that Doucouré's a little man, but it's like a big man and little man combination that him and Calvert-Lewin have got, whereas he plays off Calvert-Lewin. For me, that's perfect for Dobbin. Now, I know he may not find himself in them wide positions, but Doucouré finds himself wide quite, because you're just playing off Calvert-Lewin. Wherever Calvert-Lewin is, you're off him. You're trying to look to fill the spaces that he doesn't. You're running in the channels, because Doucouré does that a lot as well. For me, that is a position that requires less, I say tactical nous, but it's just about going, okay, how can I be a threat here? It's not going to work with Beto, as we've seen. They're both the same player. Fronts, they're too similar. And I don't think it really works with Harrison because he hasn't got the physicality to hurt teams behind. Lewis Dobbin has. Could he be that person? Maybe not from the start, but maybe just playing it, go and get off Calvert-Lewin and go and cause problems.
Yeah, look, Lewis Dobbin could be someone to come on with 25 minutes to go now if it's not working. I think the manager's been on record, hasn't he? Julie Bold, who's a friend of the show, she asked the manager direct at one of the press conferences, like, there's been a bit of criticism about how late you change it. And he basically said, I spend all week with these players on a plan. I'm not going to give it up after an hour when the plan could work in the next 20 minutes, and he's set in his ways. So I think the job one is he's give the manager food for thought, at least. I don't see Lewis Dobbin starting many games, but like I said, I think you're right in the assessment of what he can bring in the absence of Decore. He can give the opposition something to think about now. We've now got someone who's going to give us something different to what McNeil and Harrison give us, something different to what Calvert-Lewin can give us. We can't play a high line anymore in this game. We have to be a bit more disciplined. So, yeah, look, I'm all for giving players who deserve it a chance. Just
on that one, because I just want to pick up on something you said about Dyche maybe throwing the plan out the window. What I dislike about the way he makes the changes is he brings off your McNeils for Dobbin. And look, you could argue that you've got to change things up, etc. But then he'll bring on a forward like a Chimiti, like a Beto, who needs crosses, who needs service. Yeah. McNeil, generally the person who provides that service. So it's like, you're taking away something that the other player generally requires to be effective on the pitch. That's why I think I would love to see the wide men, our traditional wide men, if you call them that, Harrison and McNeil, who take a touch, get a cross in, take a touch, get a cross in, stay on the pitch, and bring a Dobbin and just add something else to it. And that's the bit that I think would... And again, look... I think on
Saturday he almost didn't he? It ended up Chimiti, Dobbin and Beto. And that's one of the first times the manager has. I completely agree with you. The manager does do. If it's not like for like, it's a little bit like, well, why have you just thrown a bigger striker on and took the winger off? Yeah, and there's always an element of that. I think Saturday he did throw caution to the wind. Now, I don't know whether there's an element of Luton have spooked us or there's the possibility of a second punishment, but he definitely tried everything to win that game on Saturday. And maybe there has been the exceptions to the rule. Maybe there's been times where he's been long in the tooth and stuck to his plan, and you look at it and you go for a pint, and you're always right in hindsight. We've had a pint to go and should have brought Beto on 55. Should have brought Chimiti on 60. Why 85? I think to be fair to him, he did give it. And maybe that's a change in the way. Maybe going forward now, because we are desperate for points, because of what Luton are doing, maybe he has got to be a bit more braver. Maybe we're going to see that now.
That's fair point, fair point. And I was going to ask you about the time and the substitutions. You've obviously picked that up. Still got a lot to cover. Yeah, we've got. We're going to talk about the feelings, your feelings around our current league position. You've just touched on Luton's form at the moment. We've got, obviously Nottingham Forest, Brentford. They're kind of in that mix as well. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, as well as the upcoming fixtures. We're going to review the window. We've obviously just come out of the transfer window, the activity of maybe some of the other teams that done business in the window, what your feelings are on that. Looking ahead to the City game, as well as our social media questions. Just before we do, quick words from our new sponsors, Tick Property Group. As you can see there, superb offer they've got on during February. So again, if you are looking to sell your house or know someone who does, please pass that on. So again, Millsy, just a quick review now. Obviously, that point doesn't really change anything from a league position point of view. Luton picked up a point. Forest disappointingly picked up a point at Bournemouth. I thought that was a good point for them, to be fair. Looking ahead to our current, our fixtures, the fixtures that are coming up, we've got Man City away this Saturday, Palace at home and Brighton away. Two questions really. First of all, what are your expectations, hope and expectations for those upcoming fixtures? And two, what are your feelings about us versus the other teams in the mix at the moment?
Luton are doing my head in, because everybody says, and some of our fans included, this is the season to get the deduction because 3 are going to bounce back down. Yeah. Doing me head in, but God loved them. That's the fighting, and the manager seems like a good manager. They've got a system which is giving teams trouble. I came in on Saturday after the match and picked my kids up, put the Newcastle game on, and seeing it was 4-2 to Luton. And you're like, how? Like no one else can do that. So God loved them, but look, I think it's them or us. I think unless Forest get a deduction, I don't think they'll go down. I think they might be in it. I think Palace will be in or around it. Their fans are going through a hard time at the minute when we've been experiencing this. When that happens, it can either buoy you or it can go the other way.
Well, they got the similar scenes to the Bournemouth one away, wasn't it? Yeah. Where the fans, the players are going in there. You know, you've got...
So some protests are different mothers. Like our protest, what we're doing at the minute, is against, you know, what we believe is wrong. What they're doing now, their Palace fans are saying this isn't good enough. That's a very different environment for players. Well. It's a very different environment to players to play in.
Exactly. It's a lot more of a negative place for players to be, isn't it? Not something the players look forward to going out and representing the fans.
Does Eze want to express himself when the fans are chanting how bad the team are? Does the striker want to...
Yeah, Elise's now injured as well, which is a huge factor. I think I've said it before, when they've got those two players on the pitch, they're a good mid-table Premier League team. Yeah. Without one of those players and without both of them, they're a poor team that could easily go down.
I think they'll twist the manager. Yeah. I think they'll twist between now and May. I think Hodgson looked at what Hodgson's done on Saturday. If anyone seen the Match of the Day interview, is he thrown his physio under the bus with the Elise thing? Wow. So Danny Doherty, who's the old Everton head of medical, he put something on LinkedIn. Danny Doherty, head of medical up until 2021, and he referenced that and said one thing David Moyes never did for me publicly was blame me. He would privately say to me, "Why have you told me he was ready? He's broke down," but publicly it was we. We got it wrong, and Hodgson thrown someone. So I think he's on. I think there's a moment.
The pressure's getting to him a bit there. Yeah, I think I'd be surprised if Steve Cooper wasn't in charge, to be honest, before the end of February.
Yeah, makes sense.
He's apparently the manager they were trying to get before Hodgson come in. But
just wait till after the Goodison game.
Yeah, please do. But yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, Luton's doing really well. I personally think that despite Ivan Toney coming back, I don't think Brentford are a million miles off it. I really don't. They've obviously got a goal scorer in there, but who's to say that Calvert-Lewin in a few weeks' time can't be back to the levels he was? And so I don't think there's a lot between us and them. Like you, I think Forest are in there, Palace are in there. I don't believe it is just us and Luton. There's not much between them.
Well, what winds me up as well is this second charge. What's going to happen to us on the second charge? What's going to happen to Forest? And the whole appeal process, it's been said that once the charge happens or once the punishment of the charge is heard and decided, the appeal process can take you to the end of May. Premier League season finishes in the middle of May. Last home game of the season, we've got Sheffield United at home. You're telling me that we win that game and we're up by 5 points?
That's not fair.
We can get 6 points knocked off us 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it's not fair.
It's almost an impossible question to answer because there's men in suits and slippers and pipes and they're making decisions in an office or a courtroom. And me and you, the match-going fan, who just want to make good content and talk about football, we can't talk about it because we don't know.
That's what I said to you, though. But the primary role of the Premier League is to produce a fair and equitable competition and to manage and administer that competition. You can't have a competition that's decided after all the games are played based on not a technicality, based on a non-footballing sanction. It's just not. It's brutally not fair. Okay, so we'll move past that. Is there anything, from a January point of view? I said going into the January transfer window, I would be happy if we just kept this squad together. We've pretty much done that, with the exception of a departure, which I'll come on to in a moment. But we've pretty much done that. Is there any of the other teams where you think, they've stolen a march on us there?
Not really. It was boring, man. Everyone's bricked it.
Yeah.
Everyone has absolutely bricked it. Yeah. And we've got mates in our group who are Reds. And the rules are the rules. You break the rules, you get a severe punishment, and you don't fight the severe punishment. It's a very weird attitude from some of the Reds at the minute. Like, you break a rule, don't speed then, boys. I'm sure you speed to work. You know what I mean? Life's not like that. Life is not. You can't just go forward and abide by every rule, especially if you've got ambition. This FFP thing's a joke anyway. But everyone's bricked it now. Everyone's decided we can't gamble. There's people. So you're a manager, and I'm your director of football. You come to me and go, do you know what? You get me a striker, I win the FA Cup. And I go, it counts. I'm a football manager. I know, Gary, but those accounts, that goes wrong a little bit, and
no, I mean,
could get 10 points off us, and then do you really want 10 points knocked off you for the striker? And you're going to go, well, I fucking don't, so I can't have a striker. Everyone bricked it.
Yeah, there's obviously opposite angles to that, isn't it? You can't just. I agree.
You can't free willy spend.
No, exactly.
But everyone has tightened up so much now that it's boring.
I think the argument would be from a neutral standpoint. And certainly from a competition standpoint, the Premier League has been the best league in the world for quite some time, and hopefully it will be for a long time to come, because you've got teams who have invested and teams who are paying to bring the best players to this league. Yeah. That'll soon stop, and that'll be interesting. If we get a year down the line, 18 months down the line, and our best players are starting to depart to other leagues and other teams because of FFP, that's when it will start to hit home and hit the purse strings, because you'll soon find that those rights, the broadcasting rights, are not going to be worth what they were if you haven't got the hot property in the Premier League.
Look, we've got friends from other podcasts now, because we do the opposition podcasts. Aston Villa for me a prime example.
Yeah,
a rich owner, a club who are in no danger of going tits up, for lack of a better phrase, who have got themselves into the Champions League positions by having a good manager and a good plan. Not going to win the league, but why can't they go and get a striker who can give them more of a chance? Why can't they go and say, we want to roll the dice? Our manager can afford it. This owner can afford it. The club are going to be in no danger to do this signing. Yeah. All we're going to do is breach your black and white rules, but we're in no danger. The only danger we will put in is if you start punishing us for this.
Well, I've got some questions, again, social media questions that are linked to this. First of all, from Steve on the subject of a striker. Unpopular opinion, but not having a striker who can finish will be our downfall. Points deductions aside, not winning games is why we are 18th. I understand the club are in a tough position regarding the transfer window, but we should have traded to bring a striker in. Would you agree or disagree? Just to try and unpick this a little bit, when he's saying traded, I believe he's saying maybe sell
to buy.
an owner, exactly, to buy a striker in, something like that. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think in a perfect world, not a perfect world, but in a different world, we would have. We said on this podcast the weekend we didn't think we'd keep Onana because historically we've been trained to know that teams spend money and teams try and improve. Yeah. I think the fact that you read Arsenal and how close to FFP, I know they've spent a lot, but their revenue must be unbelievable. How are you restricting them? So I think he was. I think Steve is probably right. And if you go back as far as David Moyes, that's what David Moyes did. He traded. David Moyes wasn't given money in every window. He had to trade. Roberto Martinez had to trade. If you remember when we signed Romelu Lukaku, we had to sell Jelavic and Fellaini and everyone to fund that. It wasn't as simple as add him to the squad. So I think in a different world, I think if a bid came in for a Jared Branthwaite, for Amadou Onana, I think the club would have took the 50 million and tried and bought a striker with it.
So back to the points around the Premier League's actions, somewhat bringing the league into disrepute. Patrick Boylan tweeted, this is from Kev, by the way, he's brought this to our attention, Kev T. Patrick Boylan tweeted that Everton would be 12th without points deduction, which is an extra 18 million in merit payments. This is where it just becomes ridiculous when you think about it this way. This obviously affects our bottom line and PSR. Can either of you make this make sense? So by deducting us the points, obviously what he's alluding to is that the PSR for this current season will be affected to the tune of £18 million in merit payments, which means that obviously we're losing revenue that we would have rightfully got based on the performance of our team on the pitch, and takes us back again. It's just...
Not only can we not sign players, we now can't sell them because no one else can buy players. We're going to get punished twice in a season anyway, and now we've got money. This on top.
Yeah, we're going
to
lose.
It's not double jeopardy; it's like quadruple.
We're losing merit payments that we'd actually earned on merit. So really, the Premier League should be saying, actually, we'll still give you merit payments for that position, but we're not going to honour that position. It's just...
It doesn't make... He's right. I can't make that make sense.
Makes no sense at all, but a great point, well made. Last one, and this is related to the window, with a comment that I mentioned tongue-in-cheek at the start. This is from Han Rob. I'm not sure if that's Han for Hannah or whatever.
Han and Rob.
Han Rob or Han Robbie. I was going to say something else.
You've butchered Hannah somehow.
I was going to say something else that rhymes with Han Rob then, but it's inappropriate. What shocked you more? Sheffield United trying to stay up by signing Holgate or Davis, or Barkley becoming Scholes?
What shocked me more?
Yeah.
Sheffield United trying to stay up by signing Holgate and Davis. With all due respect to Holgate and Davis,
no,
just
no
not
respect.
players who were going to keep.
There's no respect on my part for Holgate or Davis.
Look, Tom Davis lived a dream, didn't he? Mason Holgate is. He lived my dream. He's an Evertonian.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah,
played for Everton.
There's a measure of respect for that. Yeah.
Look, but if any club sign them two on the basis that this is the difference in us staying up, but I can't believe Holgate, who Southampton
couldn't get a game at Southampton,
couldn't get rid of quicker. The same Holgate who Sean Dyche didn't have part of first team training in pre-season said, "You're just not part of it. I can't trust you." And
then he starts a game. First game with like only a day's notice, he starts against Aston Villa, and then
he made a mistake.
Does Holgate things after 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right, look, I hate slagging because at some point they've been young players who needed our support, but the Barkley thing's funny. Barkley turning into Scholes. We covered that last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
That Barkley's having a good season. I didn't expect that, but if I was a Sheffield United fan and you're 10 points adrift and you're looking for something to help, and Mason Holgate comes and joins Tom Davis at the club, I just think that's...
Yeah, I've got a work colleague who's a Sheffield United fan, and he was just head in hands when he
didn't get one about go for a bevy with someone who sent that question in.
Yeah, we've got that in a minute. I was gonna ask that right at the end before we finish. Just briefly looking ahead, obviously we've got Man City the weekend. Thankless task. Obviously we didn't get into the fixtures, but we maybe cover that next week because. I mean,
we've got a podcast this week, haven't we, with the City?
No, but what I mean is the upcoming fixtures after that, whether it be Palace at home, Brighton away, I think that probably deserves a fresh look on next week's episode after the City game, because the City game for me, it's a write-off, and I think it's damage limitations. If anything, you don't want to get any players injured, you don't want to get Tonkin. Don't get me wrong, I think we can go there and cause them problems, but I think the current state that City are in at the moment, and versus the games we've got coming up that are important, you just want to come out there unscathed, don't you, I think?
Yeah, look, I think he'll go back to the three at the back, won't he, and try and maybe Ashley Young goes to right wing back, and Ben Godfrey comes more inside, and you play a three. I know Ben Godfrey had a really good game last year there where he wound Erling Haaland's up. Have you heard that story that Conor Cody told about that?
No.
So Conor Cody was over on the More Than a Game podcast, which is a good podcast, and Baz asked him about the Erling Haaland, Ben Godfrey ding dong. Said before the game, Frank Lampard, the manager, goes, "Don't care what one is, just hit Haaland. We're going to test the resolution. You hit him." So Godfrey goes through the back of him, and Haaland goes straight down.
He thought it was.
And Haaland gets up and walks over to Conor Cody. Goes, "Was that you?" And he goes, "No, it was Ben." So the Haaland goes over to Ben Godfrey and goes, "I'm fucking after you now." Brilliant. But yeah, I think Godfrey comes back in. I think Amadou Onana comes back in, and I think you try and get Nick a draw. How long you can play that way against this City side, I don't know. I hate to come on a podcast and say Everton going to get beat, so I'm not going to do that.
Would you be tempted? I said this last time we played Spurs with this high line. Would you be tempted to throw Beto in just because he's a playing off the shoulder more type of person? No, you just want.
I think Lewin. I think
you hold the ball up.
I think you were correct in what you said before, and Lewin is a better fit for the team. And if we've got a big plan on Saturday, which is it's going to take maximum levels of effort.
The other factor is Dominic Calvert-Lewin's so effective in our box defending corners and set piece plays as well.
Go with Lewin and keep Jack Harrison quite close to him, and then be solid everywhere else.
Fair enough. So I am going to finish with the most amusing but entertaining question that we got out of the lot on social media. It's from Tom over on X again. If you could have a drinking session with 3 people who are famous, who would they be?
Brilliant. Love these questions. I thought about this more than the Everton ones.
Well, I haven't really had a chance, admittedly, to think about it. So I'm gonna give it to you. Maybe I'll add one in at the end.
Look, I'm gonna go, and you might laugh at this. Do you know what I love? I think he's brilliant. The comedian Kevin Bridges.
Yeah.
Kevin Bridges. I'd love to go out with him. I'd bring Liam Gallagher with me because I just think that'd be a sesh.
Can I have one?
And.
Can I have one?
Go on, you're coming and you're bringing someone, go on.
Oh yeah, I'm going to bring Ricky Gervais.
Brilliant. What a night out that
I don't know, oh my God. Just the dryness of it though, in between the other two trying to be, and him just got like saying stuff that's just really like...
Liam Gallagher, Kevin Bridges, Ricky Gervais, unlimited wine.
Wow, unbelievable. That would be some night. What a question that is as well. Love those questions. Just on that note as well, if any of you have got any stuff that we do, that we cover, that you think is really entertaining or, you know, particularly interesting, whether it's particularly episodes that we've done before that you know, want bringing back, we're forever getting messages about, you know, doing the extra episodes like we did with Andy Burnham, like we've done with players. Millsy's got one on the back burner, which is a really...
We'll talk about it, because it's all locked in. So yeah, me and Judge have been thinking about and talking about doing other shows. We don't just want to do shows for the sake of it. So, you know, the women's stuff is really important too, is that we're helping the club with the Women's Super League. So we're back down there over the next few weeks to do bits and bobs. So there's some content with the women, but we've also got into the contacts and got hold of Everton player. And this was a player who came in 2000s with quite the hype.
I was really excited, yeah.
Quite the hype, and it didn't quite work. And with that becomes a story, I think. And we're going to ask this person. So Nicholas Alexandersson, the Swedish international player for Everton between 2000 and 2004, is on Across the Park podcast this week. If you want us to ask any questions, get it over to us on our inbox or our X, Twitter, YZ, whatever you want to get us on, Instagram. But yeah, Nicholas Alexandersson this week. Some more content with the women. The Andy Burnham show is still like a new show. You guys watching that and sharing it is fantastic. And that went down really, really well, didn't it? The Andy Burnham show. He was fantastic on it.
He was brilliant, yeah. Obviously, anyone who's watched it, you'll have heard the kind of brief reference. I met Andy Burnham on holiday over the summer, and again, great guy to be around. Top blue, you know, sits in the Gladys Street, goes the ship every game before it. You know, he's got his proper match going routine, but spoke so, you know, perfectly and logically about the situation we're in and how the role of the fans is important, etc. But great podcast if you haven't already heard it. But yeah, that's the type of stuff we want to put out there without doubt, and certainly, I think, as Millsy said, the better our relationship with the club becomes through the support of the women, which I think is the right thing to do. Hopefully, the more exclusive content we'll be able to bring you. And on that note as well, we're looking at the idea of trying to reward our long-term members with some kind of exclusive area that we can come up with. Without trying to put that behind a paywall. We're always looking at that as well. So
we get that question all the time, don't we? You're going to go behind a paywall with the Patreon. And me and Judgy have always said that we don't want to do it. And this is really not a knock on the people who do it, because the people who do it are brilliant at what they do. But they do it full time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to reveal where we work and what we do, because what might come with that. But me and Judgy have both got sort of careers and things, and we just don't have the time to put it behind a paywall. And it's not to say that we're the best podcast for that, but you've got no worries about that. But what Judgy is saying is,
if you ever want to buy us a pint, then we'll give you the sort code and contact details anytime.
But I think what Judgy's trying to say, and it's conversations me and him have had at length, is a lot of you guys have just been with us for so long and trying to figure out like how we throw you a pint, for all the stuff you've done for us.
Yeah.
When we put sponsors on, you guys use our sponsors, and we do look at trying to reward you. But I got this question as recently as last week. Oh, you eventually going to go to Patreon now you're at the club and stuff. No. We're not looking at doing that whatsoever. The lads who do it over at Toffees TV and the Bullens are fantastic. And the All Together Now podcast, fantastic, but they do it full time. We can't.
Yeah, and again, if anyone's going to moan about, you've got another sponsor on it, that's what we need it for. Again, we don't want to be behind the payroll. The sponsors that we've got, like Globe, who've been fantastic with us for a long time, Tick Property Group, they're helping make sure that we don't have to. It's
a big rumour of a new sponsor returning to the podcast next week. Big rumour, and that's just we're not going to reveal it until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But if anybody needs some grooming before Valentine's Day, we might be able to help you out.
Anyone who's been here a long while will know what we're referring to there, and back with the amusing little one-liners.
Nobody likes a George W.
Won't be able
no one likes a George W.
Won't be able to keep a straight face. But listen, that's all we've got time for this week. Once again, appreciate you tuning in. Once again, massive thank you to our sponsors, to the Pod Cafe for the marvellous studio and the ongoing developments they've got going on here. As always, have a great week and up the Toffees.